SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast discusses topics which are relevant to the everyday lives of seniors and their caregivers. We are joined by experts who offer their advice and expertise on a variety of issues. SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast offers solutions and resources to create the best quality of life as we age. And now, let's welcome your host, Darlene Mahoney.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast. We have over 35 episodes of senior and caregiver resource podcasts that can be listened to and followed most anywhere you enjoy music or podcasts such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and many more. Please don't keep our podcast all to yourself. Share with a senior or caregiver who you think will benefit from the support and resources that our podcasts provide. I am your host, Darlene Mahoney, and I am super excited to share the news that SeniorLivingGuide.com provides a one-stop shop to finding senior housing, including independent and active seniors a new home, while providing an excellent resource to those looking for assisted living, skilled nursing, memory care, or even home health and caregiving services solutions in one easy-to-navigate website. So visit us at SeniorLivingGuide.com today. But I would also really like to thank our podcast sponsors, Parish Healthcare and Parish Medical Center. At Parish, they offer the Parish Senior Consultation Center and Parish Senior Solutions, where each patient's evaluation and follow-up care will be personalized to meet the needs of the individual and their families. And I am very excited to introduce our guest today. Her name is Ashley Pritchett. She is a Edward Jones financial advisor. She became passionate about making financial decisions, deciding her life would be well spent helping others do the same. She chose a customer-centric path through financial and personal partnerships. She focuses on educating individuals through their personal journey while holding workshops and seminars throughout the year. She also focuses on topics ranging from fraud, creating sustainable income, investing basics, estate and legacy planning, along with philanthropy and giving. Welcome to our podcast today, Ashley.
Thank you so much, Darlene. I am so excited to be here and share this time with all of you.
I am excited to have you as well. And this is a topic we haven't really delved into on our podcast. So the topic of your podcast is 8,000 days, an entire phase of your life waiting to be invented. How exciting. Explain what you mean by 8,000 days, because that topic really got me interested.
It is an amazing topic and one that I'm very passionate about. And I have spent many years, licensed advisor for over 12 years, in the financial industry for over 30. And I have built a practice around working with our elder community, working with the families and the loved ones, the caregivers, the adult children of the aging parents, helping their journey and building a partnership with them throughout that journey to help put plans in place to make sure that where they want to be and what they want to be doing and the long years in retirement that we have are spent being able to live their lives freely and not worry about the financial aspect of living. As far as the 8,000 days, it's really interesting. You look at our lives and basically boils down to what we say is there are 4 different sections of 8,000 days. Your first 8,000 days, you're learning, you're going to elementary school, you're growing. Your second 8,000 days, again, you're in college, you are having those first relationships. You might be getting married. You might be building a house. Third 8,000 days, you're maturing. You're building more income. Now you're starting to learn that you're nearing that age of retirement. And then kind of where we're going to spend today's topic is on that last 8,000 days, which I like to talk about called exploring. Meaning, what do those last phases of the 8,000 days look like as far as will you travel? What will change the trajectory of this phase? Where will you live in retirement? What type of care will you need? And anything that involves that last part to be able to plan for it so you can live the way you want to live.
You're going about it a very different way, which I really like. So it kind of cuts it into pieces. So it's a little bit clearer for folks, I think. How does this differ from the traditional view of retirement?
The old traditional retirement is out the window. It used to be that when you retired, you would be able to live on the pensions. You would be able to live on your Social Security. These days, that is the old school way of looking at retirement. We're looking now at living 20, 30 years in retirement. There are so many compelling examples of things that have changed that outlook. There's stories that guide and engage us through decades, but the inability to envision that future, which is a good 20 to 30 years, is often caused by that uncertainty of exactly what might happen. And then also looking at things that you don't expect to happen. So navigating that last phase through different types of retirement, what you might plan for and what you might not plan for, being ready for it all.
Right. You even mentioned Social Security, and we just did a Social Security 101 podcast a few weeks ago, and the age of full Social Security continues to creep up. You can't retire at 60, 65 at full retirement. It just keeps creeping up. That's something to also consider if you're really considering that as an income source.
Absolutely. And we do. I love working with individuals on retirement and Social Security planning. They're never going to be given a straight answer from Social Security on what they get and when they should take it. So I'm so passionate about working with individuals on how that small little part fits into their lifestyle.
Exactly. Traditional view of retirement is really kind of outdated.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, got that. Tell us a little bit more about the reality of retirement these days and how it can be broken down into these phases, because I know we're going to focus on the exploring phase, which is a great way to put it. When you're exploring, that's more of a fun part, because that's the part where you aren't working, can travel, you can have wine nights at 5 p.m. versus, 6:30. That's the part where people, they work their whole lives. And this is when they say, this is when I want to enjoy my life. And a lot of people find if they don't plan properly, or things are coming up, that's sometimes becomes one of the most stressful times of their life. Many of these people have worked their whole life and they haven't lived on any kind of assistance or anything like that. They've literally worked 9 to 5 professional jobs their entire life, and then they find themselves in a very stressed out situation.
So there are different phases that I look at. Once you get to that last 8,000 days in that navigation phase, there's a couple of different phases in retirement. You've got the early phases called the honeymoon phase, and we won't touch on that a whole lot, but it sounds like just like it is the honeymoon phase. Like I said, you're doing the salsa dancing, and you're playing cards with your friends, and you're going to Florida and going on cruises, and you're golfing. That's the honeymoon phase. It's the very first phase of what you said. You've spent all your life accumulating, and this is the time to take that and make it into what you want. The honeymoon phase is just what it says. The other phases, more so that we'll talk about, are the big decision phase. There's a navigating longevity phase and a solo journey. And those are exactly like it sounds as well. The big decision phase, and this is a lot of where I work with my clients in Senior Living Guide, is what are those decisions that are going to go into this next phase of this journey? You're going from probably, leisure activities and possibly some part-time employment in that honeymoon phase and volunteering. So now you're at that big decision phase, and the second phase is characterized by more free time, but understanding it is a key time to make those big decisions. Your health status may be less vibrant. You might have a greater opportunity to make or renew social connections. You might have friends nearby you want to live closer to. What does your family look like? You're confronted by tactical questions. Now that we're fully retired, should we buy a new car for transportation? Should we stay in our hometown? Should we move somewhere warmer? Darlene, you know about that in Florida.
Yes.
Other questions, just is life easier as we downsize? Can we afford the lifestyle? So this big decision phase is probably the largest aspect of really sitting down and having those conversations with your loved ones and your family, and coming to an understanding that having access to services, proximity to family, all of those are going to play into the next several years. Absolutely.
So what are the age ranges for these two phases within the exploring phase?
So, when I work with individuals and look at their retirement journey, I've got clients that span their retirement from age 55 to age 75. It's really their personal journey on what the beginning of their retirement looks like. No matter what age you're in, it still kind of works through those same phases of whether you're retiring at 56 or 72. It's still that honeymoon phase of saying, okay, now, wow, I'm not working anymore. What do I do? This is great. I have all this free time. I can learn hobbies and plant and do all sorts of fun things. But it always will need to, at some point, move into that decision phase where when you look ahead, and I'm going to use my parents a lot in my analogies. My parents lived at the coast and they lived on property that had no neighbors. They were on the water, the inland waterway. They had no friends nearby. My dad had taken a tumble and hurt his knee. He wasn't working very steadily. So he started to make those decisions early on to say, if we're in need of additional care, where do we need to be for that? Being on the coast with no neighbors and being unsteady in a yard and having a lot of yard work really wasn't where they needed to be. So here starts their big decision phase. And this was, I want to say they're in their early 80s. So this was at least 10 years ago. Early 70s when they sat down and said, as hard as it is to leave this amazing view and this great place and friends that they did have, we need to make a decision that's best for us in terms of where we need to be logistically going forward.
Right. It is a hard decision. Once someone, especially in their 80s, has had a fall, it can definitely alter their life moving forward. And that becomes a very scary thing. So it really opens your eyes to safety issues as well.
Absolutely. Generally in that honeymoon phase and even going into that longevity, your health still may be absolutely great. Like I said, you're golfing. But then as we go into the longer phase called longevity, it goes on the assumption that you've made those decisions. Okay, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to move closer to children. And this is kind of where we're going to be for a while and live out the longer part of our retirement. And as they move into that longevity phase, then that's where, as you talk so much about with your podcast, where you might run into some medical issues, cognitive issues, depression, escalating health issues. Now that you've made a big decision, and depending on how many years before some of these health issues start to phase in, is what do we do now? This is where so much of working with a partner through these journeys can help the elderly community and the adult children of the aging parents say, okay, mom and dad are here, but now mom's not doing so well. She's not remembering things, but dad's great. What do we do about this next step? Where are your documents in terms of saying who can help your parents if you're not around, if you live in a different state? Complexity will start to very much arise in this development stage because you've got legal affairs that really need to be attended to. And then you may be looking at more chronic conditions for one or for both if you're talking about parents.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that when my dad started showing signs of dementia, my mom had passed and I had the luxury of having everything that I needed as far as legal documents. So that definitely played in my favor when dealing with him. And it was still a nightmare. It was still difficult making decisions and moving things forward. It's the craziest thing I had. I was able to take his vehicle and sell it significantly easier than it was to get his DirecTV disconnected. So I was like, this is insane with the same paperwork. So you just never know what's going to throw at you. But having all that documentation, it was incredibly thorough, but it was a life changer for me because I know that if I hadn't had that, because he wasn't able to make any of those decisions, he was very confused as to a lot of what was going on. So it's so important, so very important.
Absolutely. And, when you look at the logistics of health management, it is a full-time job. You've got increased medical appointments, medication management, increasing mobility changes. The spending on healthcare, it increases incredibly after age 65. 90% of older adults are managing at least one chronic condition, and 77% manage the complexities of two or more. Those decisions absolutely play into where do they need to be around people that can help manage that. Like I said, I go back to my parents, my grandparents. I saw high school, the difficulty of trying to find the place for my grandparents to go My mom and dad were local, and my aunts and uncles were 9 states away. And it was difficult. And when I saw with my own eyes what was happening, my parents and myself, I vowed always to try and help people and see if there's something that can be done to ease that decision and that burden. And my dad, had, like I said, everything to the T, but one thing he didn't have was the documents in place. He thought he did. Everything was, I's were dotted, T's were crossed. Then it came to the documents. He ended up in the hospital 2 years ago. My mom was his power of attorney. She was not in a good state of mind. We didn't know if my dad would come out of the hospital. And then she was the one that was trying to focus and communicate the status of his health to my sister and myself without, I couldn't talk to the doctors. My mom couldn't communicate what was going on. It was a very, very scary time. And when he did come out, thank goodness, we went to the attorney's office, absolutely, and changed those documents. So when and if this happens again, we know that we're planned for it and that I or my sister can pick up the phone and talk to the doctor directly and manage his or her health care.
Yeah, big deal. Definitely. Well, I'm glad you were able to do that. So you have some peace of mind if it happens again. And that also has to be helpful to your mom because the stress of that can absolutely wear someone out. When my mom had ovarian cancer, I think the stress of my mom's cancer over the years really was a contributing factor to my dad had dementia, but I think it absolutely catapulted it in a way that he got worse dealing with that.
And you're right. And the burden of that and the stress of that affects people differently. And personally with my mother, it did the same.
Mm-hmm.
She could not make those decisions. She was so distraught. My dad has handled everything our entire lives. And all of a sudden, my mom was a caretaker, as many people are on this podcast. And she was thrown into that role immediately and was unable to understand how to handle that. Her health was declining because of that.
Oh, absolutely. And that's not unusual. From my understanding, if a caretaker, even a female, that can be several years younger than her male husband or counterpart, if she becomes a caretaker, many times she will actually pass away before the person she's taking care of.
Absolutely. When we go from, like I was saying, the big decision phase to the longevity, my parents are now in a retirement community. They are in independent living, and their social life is way better than mine. So before, they're at the coast. They didn't have many friends around. Dad couldn't play golf anymore. So their social life was almost non-existent to the point. So now here they are, a wonderful retirement community in independent living. My mom plays water volleyball. My dad plays cards. I call to see if they can have lunch, and they're going to wine tastings and the theater and the art galleries. Their social has increased impressively. And so those are some of the logistics and things that can change. I've never seen my parents in better health because of some of those factors. They were dwelling on, we don't want to leave this beautiful home on the coast. And they haven't looked back. It's been the best decision they've ever made.
Right. Even the sheer maintenance. And, it's so funny because I had a client that came on board today and they had skee ball. And they had a bistro with skee ball in it. And I'm like going, I want to go here.
My dad walks on the treadmill and listens to podcasts. And I'm like, Dad, okay, so you're right.
It's a beautiful community. It's in New York, so it'd be a little bit of a trek because I work with them and I'm downloading pictures and the amenities and all these different things. I'm like, this is like a resort. It really does. It takes all the stress of housekeeping and all the things that have been bogged down. And I know one thing that happened with my dad, even though he had dementia, he was going into assisted living, that and knowing he would be at some point going into memory care, which he did not make it into that before he passed away. One of the things I said to him, he was talking about money, because it was clearly a burden to him and was probably not helpful to his particular situation. And when I said to him, Dad, I'm taking care of the money. You don't ever have to worry about that again. The look on his face, he said, really? I never have to worry about it again? He literally, his whole face just had a completely different relief I'd never seen off of my father's face. And it made me just want to cry because you could tell he never had that before. My father took care of everything. My mother, she was the caretaker of the family because it was a very traditional home. She made the dinner. She took care of the kids. I mean, he was a great, amazing father, but he took care of the bills. He made sure the financial end. My mom, I don't even know if she was still alive, if she would know how to access anything financial.
You absolutely find that a lot. And I will tell you, over the 30 years that I've been in the financial industry, to see the looks of those faces, like you're explaining. I got into this industry to help people in what I call explore the possibilities for their lives. And that's what it is. Whether you have a lot of money on the side or you don't, it's all about just being able to bring it together and then find the resources that builds that team to help take that burden off of somebody, off of the children. I work with guardianship all the time, powers of attorney, helping people, like I said, explore the possibilities of their life and having that look on their face, Darlene, like you're talking about when I work with the children who say, Mom and Dad need to go here, but we don't know how to pay for it. They have to sell a house or they have this over here, or Dad gets a pension. And what I love to do is help them bring all that together to be able to say, you don't have to worry about it. I am working with you on this partnership to bring all of these sources together into one place to be able to create sustainable income for your parents or your loved ones to be able to live that life that they want to live for the rest of their life. And having the look on those faces is what keeps me going every day. And I absolutely love what I do.
That's amazing. Well, you know what, Ashley, I think we're going to take a quick break with our sponsors, and then we're going to go into exactly how that works. We're going to get the details.
At Parish Healthcare, we believe in our community. We believe in keeping our community safe. We believe in the art of healing. We believe in healing patients, healing families, healing communities. We believe in the best and brightest working together for the common good. At Parish Healthcare, our team focuses on you as an individual because every life is a work of art to us. Parish Healthcare, where the art of healing comes to life. Visit parishhealthcare.com/healthaware for a free health risk assessment.
Hey, Mom, how's the retirement home search coming?
Oh my gosh, I'm just so stressed out. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, why are you so stressed? What's the matter?
I don't know where to find anything. I just need everything in like one place and know what all the options are.
Does the idea of searching for senior housing seem overwhelming and you just aren't sure where to even begin? SeniorLivingGuide.com has great news for you. We offer a one-stop solution to take the stress out of your senior housing search. At SeniorLivingGuide.com, both our statewide Florida edition book and website are created to make your senior housing search very easy for you to navigate. We provide details on communities, including retirement, assisted living, skilled nursing, memory care, and home health, allowing you to decide which best fits your needs and then connecting you directly with those communities. Visit us online at SeniorLivingGuide.com and start your search today.
At Parish Healthcare, we believe every life is poetry in motion, motivated by strength and determination. As your bone, muscle, and joint healthcare partners, we believe in blending the art of healing with the science of medicine to keep your body in motion. We believe in healing patients, healing families, and healing communities. For a free orthopedic health assessment, visit parishhealthcare.com/orthoaware. Parish Healthcare, where the art of healing comes to life.
Thank you for joining us again on SeniorLivingGuide.com. I am here with Ashley from Edward Jones, and we are chatting about 8,000 days. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the solo phase, how you can partner during that phase.
So the solo phase is exactly what you would think. Health and physical issues can quickly, and they do abruptly, come to the forefront. A single catastrophic event, a fall or a stroke that we mentioned before, as well as serious illness or disability of a spouse, also impacts the well-being of the household. Studies show that women aged 65 to 74, 26% live alone, and 42% of women over 75 live alone. So looking at that solo phase, as you've gone through this with a partner sometimes, and then more than likely one will pass away. So what does this solo phase look like? Are you considering, again, moving in with a family member? Are you going to be able to stay where you are staying, where do you have home care needs? Were you in an assisted living community? Disagreements, those can also happen between the adults and the adult children. You have well-meaning sons and daughters. They're concerned about the safety of their parents driving or even that capacity to live alone. So for this reason, and this reason alone, very clear intentions and plans that can be put in place. Again, we go back to those powerful documents, power of attorney, healthcare proxies, and someone's preference for care can help this period be a little bit more smooth and comfortable. And it can also decrease the burden that's placed on adult children. They often feel compelled to make those decisions for and sometimes against the will of their parents. And it's a very difficult stage. So having a partner help take the emotion out of what needs to happen for mom or for dad at this point. We often see a depletion of physical, social, financial, and cognitive resources. The emotional well-being in older adults, it's in high comparison to other stages of life. So again, going back to proper planning and having those, what I call crucial conversations, difficult conversations with a loved one to make sure that this next stage of life is seamless. This is a great time too in the solo phase for someone to reinvent themselves. I mean, they may have always wanted to be a cha-cha dancer, or they may have wanted to do something different. So it's not the end. It's a time to look at reinventing yourself, but making sure those plans are in place and helping your loved one know where the best place is for them to be.
Just to kind of clarify, the senior themselves can put these plans in place before they can make these decisions as far as with their family, which gives them that control.
Absolutely. So many people say, I don't want to have this conversation. I didn't want to have that conversation. When my dad sat us down, I started crying, honestly. But I will tell you that by having the conversation, having it out on the table, I work with my clients every day. What are your wishes? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to help you out? Put those plans in place. Make sure I have a copy so I know who I can talk to if something happens to you and you cannot make those financial decisions for one reason or another, and making sure that those wishes are intact. And that's where the plans come in place so we know who to talk to and who to work with.
Exactly. When my mom was sick, I'm one of these, I call it a Scarlett O'Hara thing where you do that. I'll think about that tomorrow, because I avoid things that I don't want to happen. I think if I avoid them, that it won't happen. But as I get older, I realize that was great when I was in my 20s. But reality is that is not realistic. So I know my mom would try to sit me down and have conversations about who gets what china or who gets what, what have you. And I would not have these conversations with her because I'm like, nothing's going to happen to you. Because as soon as we accept these items, something will happen to you. So she would get very frustrated because I think she thought we were just being flippant, but that was my thought pattern. As, the years went by and she got sicker and sicker, I realized the reality is my mom will not survive ovarian cancer. That's when I also realized I had to have these really hard conversations, even though I absolutely hated them, with my dad and with my mom, as far as, the planning side and having the documents in place. I was even like the type of person that I never knew what my dad made. I never went into my mother's purse. I didn't go into their bathroom without permission. I was very respectful. So going into my father's financials was like going into somebody's underwear drawer. I felt like I was doing something so disrespectful, something I should not be doing. And it was really hard for me because I felt like he was going to walk into the room and say, "What are you doing? This is not your," and going through his files. Even though he did not understand that's what I was doing. And the files were at my house. I felt like a little girl doing something I should not be doing. It was very strange.
Right. It is a difficult conversation. And one of the things that I love about what I do is I bring the families together so we can have that conversation together. Because if you've got a plan and you've made somebody a beneficiary and they don't know they're the beneficiary, they don't have my card, so they don't know who to call, they don't know where the documents are, they cannot properly go through a grieving process when something happens because they are so concerned about how will they pay for it? How will they find the documents? What does mom and dad have? Having those conversations as a family unit, I want to say, and it doesn't have to be, what do you have? Lay it on the table. I have conversations like I had the other day with a client and their son. They've made him the executor of the estate. He doesn't need to know what they have, but we've put the plans in place so he understands he's the executor. So when something happens to mom and dad, he will then make those decisions. Does he have to know right there everything? No. But what is important is that stream of change, and we know where something goes and we know who they can talk to. We bring in CPAs to look at the taxation of how they should leave something to someone. That's very important. And if I can help ease that, because sometimes if they're not going to happen, if it's just too hard to bring it up, then we plan those together. And sometimes it helps ease that a little bit. And sometimes we can, make it fun, not a fun topic, whatever works for them.
That's great to hear. And how do you manage this? Because I know that this is definitely happens, is conflict with family when making some of these plans. Is that something that you help manage?
I have seen it all. I have seen families that the siblings just love each other and they know what's going on, and so is going to handle this. And, oh, this is great. I'm going to pass this down to the grandchildren. I see the other side of it where siblings don't talk, where parents don't talk. We have complex issues. We have second, sometimes third marriages with children involved. It becomes very complex and very muddled. And there are always times when someone doesn't want to be made an executor. They don't want to be the one to tell somebody that they didn't get this, or like you're saying, the China, and it can really, really be conflict in the family. So those are why we have the conversations up front. We might need to put a trust involved. A trust has direct results of where you want things and money to go. It's not a muddled area. It's a black and white path on how you want your estate to be taken, into consideration with the different people involved. Absolutely, I have those conversations because the logistics and the dynamic of families is always very different.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can that kind of thing can absolutely tear families apart. So trying to keep it, as copacetic as possible, I think is really important. Why do you feel like it's important to partner with a financial professional through the stages? What stage do you recommend you begin this partnership? Clearly not like the first 8,000 days.
I do have a partnership that starts in that second 8,000 phase. I have young people, part of what I do is educating. I love to be out there. I hold workshops called The Reality of Life with young people and teaching them the financial basics. I see a lot of my clients who are in college and just out of college saving for that retirement. The earlier you save, absolutely, the more amazing the results. So I start with clients in their 20s. I also have clients that come to me because of a death. I have clients that come to me because of disparity in the families, and someone's been made a guardian, someone's got cognitive issues, and somebody doesn't know where to go. And they come to me and they say, help me straighten this out. I am now the guardian. That's a tough situation. So I have individuals that partnership at all phases of their lives. And no matter what the phase is, my process is to sit with them and understand where they are now and what is important. Where they are now, are the parents young and can they make decisions? And then maybe they're not. And then what we work is where they want to be. So I might have somebody come in that honeymoon phase of retirement. They've just retired and they want to take their 401k and do something different with it. They want to make sure that they're not going to outlive their money. So we always work together in saying, these are some things to look at. Well, what does Social Security planning look like? What is planning for the unexpected? What if we poke a hole in your financial plan and something happens to you at age 80? How will you pay for that? Is there long-term care involved? So the planning aspect just goes hand in hand in terms of like, you wouldn't go into a gym and say, I'm going to lose weight. And you start on one machine and you're like, I don't know what to do with the other machine. Working with a coach on that area is very similar to working with a coach. I want to be financially stable in retirement, or I want to take care of my parents in retirement. How do I do that? And the partnership is the same. It's learning what's important, and the partnership continues through all the phases of their journey and forward.
Yeah, I saw something that you had written, and you like to create a story of retirement where the client will be the main character. I like that.
And that's what it is. I am not taking numbers and saying, here's this, you're going to retire here, you're going to be able to pay this much a month for assisted living. It's their story. So they are in essence writing their story. They are the main character. I'm just here to listen. I'm here to give advice and recommend some different detours if possible. It's their story. So I love to work with clients and having them write that story. I love having a client call me, after, they've retired and they're year 5 and they're like, oh, we're moving here. We bought this house and my kids just we had our first grandchild. I love to hear those stories. And I have so many of the stories, but I also have stories that aren't good. And I'm here to share the good and the bad. It's a better understanding of how a partnership can be very beneficial. Take a lot of the stress of planning out and take a lot of the stress of grieving when that part becomes necessary, and giving somebody that peace of mind to be able to do what they love and not worry about the other pieces.
Right. But taking a financial burden off of the times that are good and then also the times that are bad are, I think, a really key element in the retirement, really all aspects of life, to be honest with you. But as you retire, I think that's a bigger time just because you may not be having that income coming in to take away some of the financial stress that you would originally be having through work. And then also you have a higher possibility that you would have some health and some other issues coming up at that time.
Absolutely. I call it the uncharted phase. So it's the uncharted phase of life. Let's plan for the expected. Let's plan for home care or a move to a retirement community or long-term care, or let's plan for philanthropy and giving. What kind of legacy do you want to leave, and do you want to leave one? What do you want to leave for your children? Those are the parts that we plan. What we want to make sure we plan is the parts that we don't expect. The need for long-term care suddenly, a disability suddenly, a cognitive decline suddenly. Those are the things that we want to call planning for the unexpected. So being a partner helps us plan for both.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with that.
I mean, I work with clients all over the country. A pivot moment from COVID was the ability to reach people through the Zoom platform, through a WebEx platform, sharing slides, meeting with families who are all over the country. It was one amazing thing that absolutely came out of COVID. When I couldn't meet with my clients, I could see my clients. I could help my clients plan from afar and from a remote access. You don't have to be local to be able to have one central location and one person they know they can pick up the phone no matter where they live. And then I constantly do webinars and seminars to help educate. That is the biggest tool. If you're prepared and you can learn and take away something on any of the topics that I try to help with, that's what it's all about. That's my biggest passion. I was there personally when I saw what my grandparents went through. I'm in the midst of what my parents are going through. So if I can help any other individual or family be able to have that conversation and really get it started, that's what I'm here for. My consultations are complimentary. I would love for anybody to give me a call. I can be found on my website at edwardjones.com. It's /Ashley-Pritchett. And I'll be glad to bring families together and start these crucial conversations.
That's great. I really appreciate your dedication, especially, I think our own experiences sometimes bring us to the forefront of what we're supposed to be doing, quote unquote, for a living, but the passion behind it from our own experiences. I know that for me, the experiences that I had with my own parents, it's something I never expected, and it really altered my life and the things that I am now doing. So I can definitely appreciate that. Your information it'll be available on any description on any app that we're utilizing.
Absolutely. Feel free to give me a call anytime. I look forward to it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Ashley. And if you enjoyed this podcast, we have multiple other podcasts available. So check out some of those titles. And again, we want to thank our sponsor, Parish Healthcare and Parish Medical Center, for all of their support and everything that they do for our seniors at the Senior Consultation Center. Thank you so much. Have a great day.